Well, hello there, everyone. Here, show you right here is the files library, and basically this activity right here basically talks about right here talk about files though. And I know that with anybody that they if they were to be doing a study about talk about files though, and these type of files could be like any type of source documents, anything that's related to maybe job reasons or maybe if it's tax files or anything like that. Especially if you're going to be working from a laptop and thinking necessarily to where that yeah, that they probably have a number of locations where you can save documents, but then on your hand to those number of locations, they really help you keep everything organized and updated. But I'm like, well, that's seems like sometimes, unless something changes, and a lot of times the answer is usually that for like anything that you change, if you log on to go open up a recent document and do some changes of some sort, and then more likely that that file is going to be relocated somewhere else of some sort. But you see right here's an example right here of like a file right here. This right here could be a file name right here. And like anybody that they may warrant or that should a file name and can a file name contain like what you call is like between letters and numbers as well as for keywords such as slash slash and underscores like brackety type markings or question mark and as well as for the control B or C or something like that, control P or for the bracket closings or anything like that. And then I know like this right here will be an example right here of a file, and I'm sure most of us have used for many years these file cabinets right here, but are now going electronically. So that I'm sure most of us here who or even on our mobile devices that we may have files including video clips and as well as other sources of media that use quite a bit of memory. So that can necessarily to where I'm sure that most of us have seen from the videos talking about for the budgeting, but this is kind of talk about is for files and I know like with any kind of files that since these would be managed electronically that we don't really have about maybe about 5 of these other file cabinets kind of sitting around at home or just what you call they would maybe be a little bit organized. You may find some old files in there from about a year ago, maybe something that you meant to throw away or is like discard or maybe update or so. But on the other hand, that for any type of spring cleaning that we look at the way of how to organize the files. So I went ahead and made like a list right here of like these different files. And sometimes so that when we're looking at these files and thinking that necessarily to where that you're opening up a file document just to look for something. And I know like with anybody that besides counting the budget, but then on your hand that counting about the files. And since we're going to be using file documents almost every day for almost anything that we do, if it's going to be for school reasons or for job, or maybe if it's for like an I don't know, I'm like if anybody I'm sure anybody would probably say that they may even have a file called schedule. It's like schedule from Monday through Sunday through Saturday or so that they go by. It's like the times of their schedule, any events or plans or anything like that that they go by. But this right here will be an example right here of me, and that this is right here for my school, for my high school. I tell you for student of the week. So this right here would be a picture of me of for my sophomore year, and use this right away because during that time I just had a binder where all I had to carry, if anything, most of the time during a certain part of the evening or hour, a lot of times was a 5-star binder. And like with anybody that besides a book bag or a binder, that they may not have all these what you call over 1,300 or so, over 1,000 files that could contain a number of pictures and maybe a number of text files, and maybe any files that you may download maybe from email attachments. And I know like with anybody that a lot of their file build up more likely that could come from maybe antiviruses or anything like that, or if it's going to be anything related to like downloads like anything maybe music that you may download from iTunes.com or something like that. So I know like with all these files here that that we may think is to where that if you were to be using a brand new device and thinking that the last time you checked that you had altogether about 15, maybe to 20 gigabytes of memory on there, and then after about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you check back and find out that about 2 or 3 gigabytes of that was already used. So you're like learning to where that nowadays with like SkyDrive and as well as all those other online cloud storage accounts that you can have this storage right here. And so if anybody were to warrant to where that trying to locate a specific file, and I'm sure most of us have had that problem to where they're trying to remember a specific file. If they're trying to look for a file, but then they're trying to remember the name of it, which I know that for like for file libraries to where that that they usually measures by is to where that whenever you would type in a search is to where that you would type in a location such as the drive A and then slash like for documents and as well as for pictures, and then if you're going to give it like say a specific port file and port it's like the type of document file the particular file that could be called, but sometimes though that files are still kind of pretty hard to find, even though that if you were just there and then find out that you can't locate it. So I know that there may be some files that are saved on a system that may be pretty similar, and maybe some of them that could be duplicates. So that is why that if we were be going by letters of the alphabet, you have right here for A that for A right here that for document like for file A right here, file A could be it's like for like attention moment or meeting or something like that, A, and you have right here for B, and and I know like with anybody that they may think necessarily to where that they've done this before quite a few times with the paper documents, that's something that don't look so hard to find later on, but at the time you keep thinking that well, the files are hiding because I went back to look for it, and those files that you could be looking for could contain something important, maybe related to your taxes or some sort. You have right here for A, B, and C, but I don't know, like if anybody if I can use like an example right here of like anybody that may warrant to where that that like with the Windows flag or something like that on there, yeah, that if, especially for like Windows or if it's going to be a Mac or any type of operating system that you may locate a file that looks something like that right there, and you're like, well, and the last time you've seen it, it may have had like a different color marker or something like that on there. So whenever we look at these files right here and thinking necessarily to where that oh yeah, that should be easy to remember right there. Yeah, okay, file right there, question mark, and as well as yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to study about what all these key codes are, but I'm like, yeah, question mark. I guess those are your commas or parenthesis commas or anything like that, quotations or something like that. But anyway, for Drive, so I know that the first thing that you may think about necessarily to where it depends on operating system, and I know that I have not had too much experience, a whole lot of too much data is like experiences to where that how to manage a lot of stuff even by mobile. So if you're trying to save something, then a lot of times that there will be a file that would be automatically created, and I know that most operating systems that they say that there's a file automatically created. That all you really have to do is just kind of give the file that you give the file a name, which, and I know it's pretty confusing, like with anybody, if they're especially if they're trying to create like if they're working on a big project, and then let's just say if it contains more than 15 documents, and then they would recommend to put it in a zip file. And I know that with anybody that zip files, I guess that they come in hand, just because that it holds I guess if you want to call it like a binder, and I could maybe say as to where that yeah that look at it kind of like a binder, something and a binder to where that And if you're not careful, that I'm like, yeah, if it contains confidential information or anything like that, then they're more likely that making sure that's protected, especially. But anything that we're going to be doing online, that they're going to have the privacy reasons and stuff like for how they use that source of information. So with anybody, that I would not. I would not recommend to do anything more with any type of personal information such as passwords and usernames, as well as for like social security cards, anything like that, birth certificates. So that's just my opinion about it, as to where that if you're going to be working anything electronically, I would suggest is to where that be school related, or if it's going to be like if you want to say on a trusted website, it's like you have your own personal account to where you can actually organize, manage your stuff. But the whole purpose about the working our files, if there's a type of the reason to where that you're trying to remember the name of the file, but then the type of a name that you're looking for in particular. So that I know, like with the search bars, I like that search you search any file, certain file name, and more likely it would be like a little a glossary, if you want to call it like a glossary, like a little list that comes down below, to where you can actually find those files and be able to look for them there. So anybody that may wonder to where that's on on your personal computer, especially like a laptop. But then if you're going to be trying to access some of your old files on like your Google Drive, or maybe if it's going to be on SkyDrive or Creative Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud, that it may just be work just a little bit different. That some of the files are going to be like in a list right here, and sometimes I usually go by the dates too, from where they were located, or whenever they were created, and as well as the program that they were created, and all other details and stuff like that. That's usually how I recognize my files, is that sometimes either rated by the size of them, and as well as for the dates of them. So whenever they were created. So anybody that may wonder toward it for how you're able to locate your files pretty easily, and sometimes that's pretty hard to do. So whenever I was a kid, that used to always think is toward it, you buy pencils and pens and maybe paper, and sometimes that you would maybe misplace them quite a bit of times. Think about one thing that you have never replaced. You have never misplaced. Think of one thing that you never misplaced. And I would more likely think as to where one thing that I have never misplaced, if I can think of one thing, my student ID. So other than that, anybody that may warrant or that, you're quite a few things that you're going to be working with while you're in school or on a job, that sometimes that you may not misplace it, but then it's possible that something was not done correctly, or update was not performed correctly, or anything like that. So this right here will be my name right here. Example right here, my name, as well as the stars. They have about 8 stars, 10 stars right here, and this right here was like the file name right here. So working with the file right here, and the say for the file library, and we learned to where that you're locating a specific file that we could be talking about maybe up to about altogether about maybe 100 gigs or so of memory space that some of the files that we could be using that could be taken up, and some of it could be related to text documents, as well as anything that's maybe related to iTunes, or maybe that's shopping malls online or anything like that. So that there are documents and stuff like that that they could have been downloaded, and as well as for anything to be installed. So a lot of things, I guess, are going to come in like what you call these different files, and media players, and those type of files that almost really anything. And I know that for like I had the time that I wondered to why that maybe that they don't call them packages, because if one file that contains more than 25 or so gigabytes or so of information, I'm like, more than 25 gigabytes or more than 40 gigabytes of source of information, you would think that more likely it would be known as a package, not really a file. And you would think that it may look just a little bit different, compared to all the other file you compare to this file right here. This file right here, more likely, I would think that would be an example right here of like a file that that contain only about maybe about 140 or so kilobytes or something like that of smaller memory size. Pecans, if you want to call pecan, it's not. Am I trying to think of the name here? But anyway, something smaller than a megabyte. Something smaller than a meg. But a lot of times between 1 or 2, 8.5 or so megabytes or so is what more likely what this type of file would hold. But then you have right here is a file right here that may contain about maybe up to 30 gigabytes or so of information. So this right here would be an example right here of a package. So you're like wondering to where yeah, package, huh? Like, yeah, the type of package to where like a postal stamps, whichever it is. I'm like, yeah, that more likely that and I don't know how it all works online to where that whenever we get a package by the mail person, they want you to sign a form saying it was received. It's like if it's going to be second or third class mail or anything like that. But on the other hand, that we wanted to where that for anything that's going to be done electronically, and I know that with nowadays with the online sites is to where that they have an easy way of tracking the packages, especially to where that they send out like track like a form to a confirmation number, all that stuff that they usually send. But anyway. Did I know that while I'm talking about this, if anybody wants me to talk about anything else, but really, also thinking about this like for really if it's over 10 minutes here. But anyway, but they have a talk about what follows though, and I know this right here will be a picture right here of me right here, like I mentioned before, and I'm like, yeah, for my sophomore year, of course, I did not even have, freshman year, and it's like, for sophomore year, that anybody that more likely weren't to her, that if you had time at home to look at this like a puzzle, like a scramble, like a puzzle like scramble to you match up the different colors and file names and try to locate something very quickly and if this was like a kind of game, and I really don't know if anybody has ever thought about doing like an activity to where they test each and every person about it's like yeah for being kind to one another, huh? Test each person about who's going to be the fastest of locating a file, such as if it's going to be anything about the property tax or anything else, maybe bills, or if it's going to be schooling papers or anything like that, last week's assignments, who's going to be the fastest and locate it. So I know that that this was like a game right here, that I'm sure that you say that, well, that more could be pretty frustrating. I'm like, because you're trying to locate a certain file and thinking necessarily to where that, yeah, well, I used to keep a notepad around, sticky notes, used to keep a few sticky notes around, and I was lucky to be able to find about maybe 2 of them after 3 weeks. After 3 weeks that they would mention about maybe, anything about class assignments, study hours, or maybe read paragraph 1 and 2 or something like that. But anyway, but there you have it. I talk about for organized as well as for file library. Our day, May 25, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. And also, as I mentioned talk about empty, and I know like anybody that may warrant or that how do you usually handle that for whatever you're going to be working on something, and then you go back and try to open up the file and find out that some of the file some let's say portions, let's say pieces of the file are either missing or not updated, or they can't be opened or non-supportive or anything like that, or maybe empty. So that for any type of frustration and thinking necessarily to where that for ways of how to recover any misplaced or missing files, and from the last report from whenever it was saved, and I would think that a lot of that would probably be in a parental control or somewhere where you can actually recover any files that in case of a power failure or anything like that could be worked. But anyway, talk about it as well as for empty files as well as organized files, and knowing about how to fight the particular spring clean. But anyway, yeah, but talk about for files library, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.